In this lesson, we will configure IPsec site-to-site VPN. We have Istanbul and Ankara offices in our topology. We will make our VPN connection between these two offices. First we will create zone and tunnel interface. In second step we will create phase 1 IP crypto profile. In third step we will create IPsec crypto profile for phase 2. In fourth step we will create a gateway. In fifth step we will create IPsec tunnel. In sixth step we will create static route on our firewalls. We will write S, and in the last seventh step we will create security policies. I have made all the settings on the Ankara side before, and we will make the same settings in our Istanbul office. We will make the settings in the Istanbul office together with you. Then we will go to our Ankara office and check the settings we made there. The IP of our tunnel interface here will be 10.4.0.1. The IP of our tunnel interface here will be 10.4.0.2. Now let's go to our Istanbul firewall and start our configuration. When we come to the firewall side, let's go under the Network tab. Let's first create our zone here. I say add. I'm making it IPsec VPN. I choose layer 3 as a type and say OK. After creating our zone, let's go under the Interface tab and create our tunnel interface. Here we come to the tunnel. Earlier we created a tunnel for SSL VPN. Now let's create one for IPsec. I say add. Let that number be 2. From here, let's choose the virtual router and the security zone we just created. Let's write our IP address here. Our address is 10.4.0.130. After typing the IP address, I say OK. After creating our interface, let's set up iCrypto and IPsec crypto. Click on iCrypto. We have 3 profiles in default. You can use them if you want. You can add a new profile if you want. Let's add a new profile. Name it IC Phase 1. Here we choose the Diffie-Hellman group. Let our DH group be 5. I choose encryption ICE 192. Let's add authentication here. I choose SHA 256. Here you can set the key lifetime. I leave it at default because both of our firewalls are set to 8 hours. We say OK. Now let's set up IPsec crypto. I say add. I write IPsec phase 2 in the name of it. I choose ICE 192 as the encryption. I choose SHA 1 as authentication. I leave the Diffie-Hellman group as 2 and say OK. Let's set up iGateway. I say add. I am writing Istanbul Ankara Gateway in its name. Let's choose our version here. I choose 2. Here I select our WAN interface. Our local address is 44.34.0.1. Our peer address is 44.34.0.2. From here I write the pre-shared key as Palo Alto 123. Let's come to the Advanced section and select the IC Phase 1 profile we created. After creating our IC gateway, we will create the IPsec tunnel here. I choose IPsec and say add. I write Istanbul Ankara IPsec on its name. Let's choose our tunnel interface from here. Our tunnel interface is 2. Here we select our IC gateway. Let's choose our IPsec crypto profile from here. Let's come to the proxy ID part. Here we will write our local subnet and our remote subnet. Our local subnet is 172.16.0.0. Our remote subnet is 192.168.20.0. Let's add our subnets by clicking add. Proxy ID Istanbul Ankara. Our local subnet is 172.16.0.0. Remote subnet 192.168.20.0. After typing our subnet mask, I say OK. We added our proxy ID, and I finish the process by saying OK. After adding our IPsec tunnel, let's go to our virtual router and write our static routes. Let's click on our virtual router and come to static route. Let's write a new static route by saying add. Let the name be Ankara office. Destination 192.168.20.0, our output interface is tunnel 2. Our next hop address is 10.4.0.2 IP address of tunnel interface in Ankara. I say OK. With the static route we have written, When users in our Istanbul office want to access the 192.168.20.0 subnet, they will access the Ankara firewall via Tunnel 2. We say OK. Now, after writing our static route, let's go under the Policy tab and add two rules. Let's allow for IPsec traffic in our first rule, and let's allow for our users' traffic in our second rule. I say add. I'm typing IPsec traffic permission on its name. I leave the rule type in universal and come to source. Our source is outside zone and our source address is 44.34.0.2. We allow IPsec traffic from Ankara. In the destination section, we select outside zone and write the IP of our firewall 44.34.0.1. Let's come to the application part and say add. Here we will add IC and IPsec especially. I leave the action part and allow and make our log settings and say OK. Let's take the rule we wrote at the top. I'm making a move top. Now, let's create another rule for users under this rule. I say add. I'm typing IPsec VPN user in its name. I choose the rule type enter zone and come to source. In source, I choose inside an IPsec VPN. Since we need to write a two-way rule, I create our rule here by adding inside and IPsec VPN zone to both source and destination. I come to the destination section. Here I choose inside and IPsec VPN zones. I leave the application and service at default and switch to the action part. I leave it in allow and after configuring the log, I say OK. Now we have created our rule for our VPN users. After making all our settings, let's upload the changes we made to our firewall. We've finished our settings on the Istanbul side. Now let's go to our Ankara firewall and check the settings on our firewall, then we run our users test. When we come to the Ankara firewall side, let's check the settings we made here. First, let's check the settings we made under the Network tab. Here I added our zone and interface. I gave our tunnel the IP of 10.4.0.2. After adding zone and interface, I made iCrypto, IPsec and IC gateway settings. When we come to the IPsec tunnel section, you can see that our tunnel is up. For our tunnel to be up, a traffic must start between two sites, otherwise there will be no tunnel up. After creating the IPsec tunnel, we went to our virtual router and wrote static route. Users here will access our Istanbul firewall via tunnel 1 to go to the Istanbul office. We made the settings for both the Istanbul side and the Ankara side. Our tunnel is up. Now let's go to our user and perform our tests. When I come to Ankara, let's ping our user in the Istanbul office from our user here and try to make a remote desktop. First, let's type pipconfig/all to confirm our user's IP. The IP of this user is 192.168.20.44. First, let's ping host 172.16.0.144. Our ping is going successfully. Let's see which way it goes by doing a tracert. First it went to its own gateway, then it went to the 10.4.0.1 tunnel IP of our Istanbul firewall, and from there it reached the user. Now let's try to make a remote desktop. Since I wrote the IP address of 172.16.0.144 before, it is registered here. I say connect. Let's provide access by typing our username and password. As you can see, our site-to-site VPN is working successfully. Now let's go to Istanbul and check the logs on our firewall. When we come to our firewall, I come to Session Browser under the Monitor tab. When you come to Session Browser, you can see the log records here. You can see that the traffic is from the IPsec zone to the inside zone and the IP that started the traffic is 192.168.20.44. Destination address is 172.16.0.144. Here you can see that we are doing RDP. This is how we do it in the configuration of IPsec site-to-site VPN. See you in the next lesson. Bye.